I am on the breakfast show on Rise FM. Mondays to Fridays, 6 to 9 is the time slot for the show, but I get to the station an hour before. So I'm at work at 5 in the morning. Luckily, I'm a morning person, so I'm up at 5 even on weekends when I'm not working. And I think it's relevant that I mention that because sometimes we want a very glamorous part of what we think is easy or how others do something, make it look so simple, and only to find that it might not be aligned. Maybe you're a talk show person, maybe you're more of a production kind of person. So because we're at work so early, and by we I mean the team, because we work in a team, after every show, so at 9 when we knock off, we don't go home. We actually sit through and prepare for the next day, which we call a prep. And a prep will basically be the blueprint, the guideline of, if I can't make it to work tomorrow morning and somebody has to step in, that document must stipulate exactly what happens between each link. And links are when the microphone is on and we're speaking, because when it's not on and the music's playing, we're probably still speaking, but you know what I mean. So yeah, the prep is the guideline, the blueprint of what happens in a show. So every segment is planned. So you've got like 15-minute segment. If you think about a 1 hour clock, I'll take the hour 6 to 7 for instance. There'll be 15 minutes. In that 15 minutes, you might have a link or two. You'll have news at the top of the hour. You'll have adverts, which we call spot breaks. So all of those things are just technicalities depending on the format of the show, the editorial format of the station for that matter. I've done community radio, I've done public broadcaster, and I'm currently on a commercial radio stations, and those differ. An hour will entail all of those, but it will be broken up. Think of a pizza. A round pizza will have 4 parts. So each quarter of the hour has a particular role. And then there's little things that you do in between, between links, which we'll call throw forward, back announce. So yeah, those are little add-ons. So if you think about the pizza again, this would be like your topping, but the base of it will be the content. And that's what we planned the day before. But being a breakfast show means that things can change throughout the day from the time we left the station to the following day. So we do leave room for changes, updates, and that will be what happens between 5 and 6. So when I arrive at 5 o'clock, I will check my clock, which is now on the system that we use. And again, different stations use different apps, if you like. We've got social media, we're on different platforms. So stations also use different software to run the desk. And the desk would basically be what's logged in, my adverts and audios that are going to go out. The music compiler would have also put the music in. If there are music features that fall on a particular hour, I can literally scroll through the entire hour. And that will allow me to then interact on social media as well, because the clock is flowing and the prep work has been done. And should there be changes on the day, it's easy to amend. An hour before, prepare for the 3 hours ahead. In between the 3 hours, have fun, man. Be responsible with when the microphone is on. Radio is interesting because it's done, it's gone. There's no, sorry, cut, audience, listeners, can we take 2? That's it, it's gone. Once you've said it, it's out there. Worst case scenario, we'll have to retract, apologize publicly or something like that. But haven't had that incident yet. I have been taken to the Public Broadcasting Complaints Commission before by a guy who felt offended by a statement that I made about women. Imagine the nerve. The whole feminist me was dragged for a statement I made. There's assumptions made about women, and one day someone said, yeah, women can cook, men can learn to cook. No. Cooking does not come pre-installed in a vagina. It's a skill that anyone can learn. Yeah. I feel attached. So it's just being responsible when you are, the mic is powerful. The truth is, some people believe everything that they hear, which is rather naive, but you'd still take responsibility of the fact that you have a listener who's taking information and trusting you, so not discrediting yourself by abusing that platform. So I've been asked the question, if one should study to be in radio or even in the media industry. This is broad. I mean, broadcasting, acting, all these talent demanding industries. Look, talent is enough to get you through the door. But talent is not enough to keep you or to even grow you. I studied journalism. I did my BA degree in journalism at the University of Johannesburg, and I majored in communications and sociology, study of humanities. One of my ancillaries was audiovisual production, which had to do a lot with filming and background. And because it wasn't a major, I didn't carry throughout with it. Psychology was another ancillary I did, and that involved a lot of psychological development psychology rather. But I think my secret, which I really feel today, is communication. I majored in communications from my undergrad throughout. I also did short courses in communication. And I knew at the time I wanted to be behind the scenes, and I was going hectic into like investigative journalism. I wanted to be the next Deborah Patter. That was my line until my first job was at Broad Daylight Films, and we worked for a show called The Big Debate. This was television, and I realized maybe I can't save the world. So I scrolled right back behind the mic, behind the scenes, because clearly they got tricky, they go wow, they got tough. But I would absolutely advise someone to go and study it. There's something about the theoretical study of any field that gives you a background basis, a foundation, and it also boosts your confidence, I must say. Look, if you think about it, I'll take journalism for instance. If I had gone and studied typewriting in 20 years ago, it would be irrelevant now because the technology has advanced so much. It has completely changed. It doesn't matter if you did typing at school 20 years ago. Now everybody's typing on their cell phones for that matter. So the technical aspect of it, you can learn as you grow. And some people are gifted in that, and that's their focus. And if that's you, by all means, go and study that, and also continue to keep up with the Kardashians. If the technology changes, advance with it. Always upskill yourself so that if you're not growing with your industry, you're definitely getting left behind. However, if broadcasting is your focus, then I would say content is king. And if you can learn to communicate effectively, you can grab the attention of anyone. There are things that I've always done and always knew I should do, but I didn't really know it was a skill per se. You don't think it's a talent until you see someone who's lacking in it, and you almost want to tell them, no, there's voice dynamics. There's power in silence and breaks, and there's effect in raising your voice, lowering your voice, speaking at a tempo and slowing it down. You achieve different things, and radio is particularly important because this skill becomes important for radio because people can't see you. Television for me was the easiest because you can see my face, that I'm being sarcastic, I'm laughing, I'm using my hands. I know you can't see me now, but I'm actually using my hands, I'm smiling, I'm laughing. But with radio, you need to communicate this with just voice dynamics. And it's a male-dominated industry. It continues to be so with all the changes that have happened. And guys have naturally a more authoritative voice. We are socialized into thinking that a male voice is more dominant, more, it speaks more with authority. So coming into the industry with a squeaky little female voice, what is it about me that will make you stop and listen? I needed to find my strengths and polish my craft in things that I knew. I cannot stress the importance of getting educated, if not for your own growth and confidence, then certainly for the credibility of what you do. Now, the industry is changing. Radio once upon a time was just about the voice. You had the face for radio and you could get onto the radio platform. Now, content creators have access to do their own podcasts. They can literally start their own radio stations online. So what sets you apart? And as the industry changes, think about the typewriter. If that's all they could do when computers came onto the screen, when laptops came onto the scene, tablets came onto the screen, they were wiped out. But if they could construct argument, if they understood communication as a tool, they could easily adapt with any platform. So one asked me, do I like television better or radio better? And I had never thought about this. And my answer was, neither. I know that sounds weird. I'm just a communicator. If I'm speaking on the phone with a friend, or having coffee, or speaking to an audience at a school, or on radio or on television, at the heart of it all, I'm a communicator. And now, I don't want to just speak. I need to impact. So that means I have to study content so that my delivery could be more effective. I can be a more efficient communicator. And you can't suck that out of your thumb. Going to school gives you an advantage. It makes you versatile. It makes you skilled in what you do. Anybody can do radio. You've got a beautiful voice, you're talented, sure you can get in. What sustains you? What grows you from one level to another? What makes you bravely open a door? What makes you move from a community radio station in 7 months to a public broadcaster and sit on a drive time slot, a year later move to a breakfast slot, then be poached to a commercial station? That's my story, by the way. But it's that ability, to adapt, to adjust, to also know that I'm lacking in this, and then go back to the drawing board. But if you just think, I've got a nice voice, or I've got a pretty face, it doesn't go very far, because there'll be someone prettier, someone with a better voice. So what makes you stand when the industry changes? Because that's the one thing that's constant: change. Technology, interesting phenomenon. It's rejected when it happens, and then we're forced to deal with it, and then we have to adapt. My story of adaptation goes to BlackBerry. BlackBerry once owned the smartphone space. BlackBerry were trailblazing, but their lack or failure to adapt to changes in the demand, so you speak, in the market, caused them to be wiped out by what was once just mere competition. Others then studied the trends and went ahead of the game. So, will podcasting and vlogging wipe out television and radio? Not necessarily. Radio is the one thing that has survived time and time again, and it will continue to survive because of our socio-economic differences. So for as long as not all members on society have access to internet and free Wi-Fi and all sorts of these, what is privileged right now, and yet will at some point become standard needs in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But for now, no. When television came into, television is relatively new. In South Africa, it's less than it's like about 60 years or so. It's relatively new. When it came in, that's the end of radio. No, it wasn't. Newspapers were threatened by the invent of radio, but they survived. It's debatable now, but they somehow survived because there's a market for it. Television did not wipe out radio. Podcast will not wipe out radio because of the gap, the social gap that we have around the world, particularly in our country. So I think radio's got a future, but radio will need to reinvent because it is competing in a space where people have options. And when people have options, then you need to dangle a carrot for them to, they're choosing you, they're not stuck with you. We grew up listening to radio because that's the station your parents chose. They were not interested in the music, selection. They were loyal to the person. You will not play anything else. We grew up listening to that. And now we channel hop. We're that generation. We are not loyal. We listen to this. Maybe we follow celebrities. Maybe we follow content. Maybe we follow music shows. Maybe we follow talk shows. Maybe we subscribe to podcasts. So because we're not loyal, our attention span is shrinking. Radio will need to adjust, radio will need to adapt, and radio will need to reinvent, and that's how it will live on. Now, radio is still leeching off the credibility of people can't skip through the advert when they're listening to radio. And so when you say your listenership is XY, it's not an estimate. It's literally a reflection of who's tuned into the frequency at that time. So that will still sell for advertisers, for instance. And that's how radio makes its money, through advertising. But again, different forms of radio subscribe to different formats of generating revenue. A community radio station could, one, rely on grants grants that are granted to community development projects. For instance, the Media Democracy Development Agency, the MDDA, funds some community radio stations. Then we also have organizations that have CSI budgets for corporate social investment that will also donate to a community radio station, because there's a need for a community radio station. A national broadcaster might tell stories of what's happening in the country and around the world, but a community radio station goes down to Gogo Dlamini's house, and it needs to reflect the community that it broadcasts in. So their funding policy might mean that 50% of their money to just running costs, to run productions and ensure that the building is maintained and all that, water, electricity, those overheads are coming from donor funds. I'm from Emalahleni, so we had the mines supporting our station, whether with infrastructure and maintenance of the building. But then they also have a board governing the community radio station. There might be a station manager and all those other things, but the board will then hold the station accountable to audits and make sure that money is going to where it's said to go. That's community. And then obviously they generate income also from ad spend, advertisements. That's basically it. Not too many media partnerships happen with community radio stations because of their capacity and their reach. But when you go to public broadcasters, now the public broadcaster in our country will fall under the South African Broadcasting Corporation. They also get some income from government fund, from taxpayers' money, and from TV licenses. Radio is also funded by TV licenses. And then, payos, do the right thing. Is that their payos line? I think they have a new one. Either way, just payos. And then, because they've got a different mandate, theirs is to educate, entertain, and inform. Hopefully with a focus of informing those who don't subscribe to paid television channels, those who don't have television, to give them information, much valuable information. So because of that mandate, if you're only relying on advertisers, the message that you send, see, I studied this in media studies, will also be distorted, because whoever funds you, you tell a good side of them, you don't tell the whole story, because you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So there is a balance that the public broadcaster is funded by the state to some degree, so that they remain objective, non-biased, and all those other things that we end in the textbook and not in real life, And then they also generate 70-80% of their income from ad spend. So advertisers, that's basically how we make money. And then there's media partnerships for events and other thing, endorsements and stuff, which, podcasters might have more control over who advertises, because you completely relying on either media partnership deals, endorsements, and all sorts of things. I think radio is therapeutic. I think what I do generally is therapeutic, because I tell a story about an Afrikaans teacher that used to kick me out of class because obviously I wouldn't stop talking. So she always said, "Pak jou goed is and stop eet my class." And this woman. So anyways, fast forward years later, I'm on TV, I'm on radio. I bump into my Afrikaans teacher, Mrs. Barnard, I never forget. And she says to me, "Hey, Mpumi, so what do you do now?" I'm like, "Oh, now they pay me to talk." So because I love what I do, I said this to my uncle the other day. He was asking me, "You've been working since, you haven't had a break. How are you feeling?" I said, "Actually, I'm energized by what I do." So it's a mental thing more than anything else. One, it's being aware that when a person tunes in, they're probably trying to escape their troubles of this world. So for me, it's cathartic, honestly, because I could be going through the most, but as soon as I walk in the space, the studio, the music, the energy of the people, I bounce off energy, and I definitely draw energy from people as well. And knowing that it's true, healing others heals you. So I walk in, and for 3 hours, I could pretend my life is as perfect as you think it is, with debit orders dealing with me and all. I could totally have fun and get lost in it and come out of the 3 hours feeling fresh. And I mentioned earlier that I'm a morning person, so I'm probably at my best in the morning in any case. Try giving me a midday slot. Yo! Azangu crampy. Tune in, boom, out. Like, they don't pay me enough. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, so for me, it's, look, I left a corporate job to do this, so it better be fun. And so if I'm bored, I know for sure my listener's gonna be bored. And you know, the thing about not showing up, and by showing up, I don't mean just physically, but not showing up for yourself, is self-judgment. It weighs so heavily. I know when I've had a crappy show, I walk out feeling like I did a disservice. And so you're only as good as your last show. Rest assured, I come back the next day, bounce off to redeem myself. So I have fun, I enjoy what I do. Politics and all, there's politics everywhere. So when I'm having a bad day, I love music. So I'll play some good pump me up music, like your Kirk Franklin can wake me up any day, Hosanna forever, and I'm there. Like, it is my fix, it is my high, and I can come out and then remember, oh yeah, so it's perspective. But there's a lot of personal development work that goes into a space where I said I love energy and I draw from people's energy, but people can also be draining, and you literally go into the houses and cars of people's cars every morning. It can be draining if you are not anchored. Spirituality is my anchor. Books are definitely my release as well, and always pouring into myself so that I cannot, but you can't pour from an empty cup. So if I keep my cup full, I show up and I give my best. And if it was my best and it wasn't yours, that's okay, as long as I don't have to go back and judge myself. My very first job, I was an intern / production assistant. I was an intern for the show The Big Debate for the first season, and it was a current affairs politics show, and I was there as a skivvy, literally. Like, runner has a new meaning, from getting people's takeaway pickups to putting funders' reports in envelopes, and then discovering that what the production people say they pay you is not what lands in your bank account, but that's what is in their books. What that experience did for me was expose me to the broader part of the industry. And it also allowed me to have access to a network of people that I could tap into, not only learn from, but follow up. And I got my other job while I was at this internship. And as I was interning, I was using that time to go online, search. Whenever I had free time and I wasn't running around to get a cable for someone or pick up someone's laundry, I was sending out my CV. I got my next job. In my internship, I earned 2,500 Rand. I had arrived, Bona. I was living in a back room in Brixton. I used to say Hurst Hill because it sounded fancy. It was one street away from Brixton. 1.5 was my room. Leaves you 1,000 Rand. Now, if I had to take 2 taxis, which is what I should have done, to get to Randburg, it would cost me 1,400. But now with a balance of 1,000, Bona, you are in a deficit. So I walked through a dodgy park, Kingston Park, past SABC, to get to Barry Hartog, where I would catch a cab. That means I minus 1 cab to town and then to Randburg. Now I walk 30 minutes to catch a cab, then I only do 1 cab. But now it's a decline to Barry Hartog. But if I knock off at 5 in winter, it's cold, it's dark, and it's a steep back up that dodgy park. But it saved me 700 Rand. So now I've got 700 remaining from my 1,000. But it was only 50 Rand to go to Witbank, and Witbank was home. So can now walk 50 Rand, go to Witbank with my, I don't know what you call it. I don't want to say Shangan bag. Okay, I just did. But yeah, that's what they call them. With my kotuga. You know my kotuga. I'm going to grocery shop in my mother's cupboard. Shameless. Pakisha, and back to Joburg. And yeah, the rest is like, I will, turn up with a little takeaway once a month, and yeah, some airtime, 50 rands for BlackBerry data bundles, and I would be sorted. And I did that for 6 months. 6 months, long hours. I dedicated myself. I worked hard because I wanted to be noticed. I wanted my presence to be felt. I wanted someone to see that there's potential behind all that. In that time, I know my mom said, quit, because I was working crazy hours, no holidays, and getting paid on the 35th of the month, always. But that taught me a lot. 6 months later, I got another internship at a bigger corporation that paid me 4 times what I used to get in 6 months. Yo, azanga figu Mpumi. In ya 12,000 take home. Hayi mina ku back room angeke ngithatha kanjani. Azange upgrade because I went to a flat that cost 3.5. Now I'm working for this company, I must have dish. So I got dish. But not just for me, for everybody. Because, hey, Mugel, uyabola. How will they know now that I'm working for the company? So everybody, you get a DSTV, you get a DSTV, everybody get a DSTV. So, okay, you know what? Before I flourished, I wasn't like really balling, but it cost like 1,000 rand for me to have 3 subscriptions on premium at the time. They were called child accounts. So I had one, my mom had one, my boyfriend had one, my grandmother had one. But yeah, long story. Kusele 8,000 minus lo tower dish say 7. But now angeke ngiphathe Kev. I-Blackberry Kev. Ngisebenza e-office no girl ngalandi torch. It was the latest release. That was another. So what that internship taught me is don't upgrade your lifestyle just because your income. Because long story short, I probably accumulated more debt when I was earning more than when I was an intern. But I still showed up. If you're gonna show up, give your best. I gave my all. 3 months into that internship, it was a year graduate internship. 3 months into that, one of the ladies went on maternity leave. Now here's a lesson. When an opportunity opens up, grab. I stepped in fully in her role. Long story short, a year later, my internship was coming to an end. The manager in the department had completely forgotten that I was the intern because I had taken on the workload equal, if not more, to some of the employed permanent people. So they advertised the post to say, you know, they need an additional pair of hands. I applied for the post and she called me into her office. Hi, Mpumi, why are you applying? I'm like, because my internship is ending this month. Kana, you're an intern. But that was such a vote of confidence. She had completely forgotten. She's like, when I said I need staff, I meant on top of you. So it was almost guaranteed. I still went through the interview process, but yeah, needless to say, I got that job. So I've done 2 internships. One was 6 months and the other was a full year. I don't think you ever arrive. I often say to people, 80% of the people that are currently working in the industry are not the most talented. The talented ones don't take up opportunity. They are waiting for the big break. They want to be discovered like some reality TV show. Someone's gonna come knocking in the door. Do you want to sing? So I don't think you ever arrive, especially because the game keeps changing and because new talent comes into the scene. And then people want to stay by virtue of Dala, Sisila. Maybe it's time to go. So for me, something P. Diddy said, and it really sank. I can grow wherever I go. He said, plant me anywhere and I can grow there. So I don't think you arrive until they've given you a Lifetime Achiever Award. I think then you know it's also time to retire. But even then, as particularly Black communities, I don't think we have the privilege of retirement because we have the responsibility of passing on the baton and sharing the skills. I think there are too many experienced, rich broadcasters who sit at home, you know, after retirement because nobody's willing to pay them, when they could open up academies, when they little things that you could teach for people who are coming into the industry and want to polish their craft. So no, if I ever left the space, I would definitely get into the development space of it and make sure that I teach all that I've learned, the little that I've learned. But I also think you can't say you've arrived. I read a quote this morning by one of my media guru loves, Kanye Dlomo, and she says, you can't aim to be a millionaire if billionaire is the new standard. So if I were to go into podcasting and I'm not sitting at 1 million subscribers around the world, arrive where? To who, according to whose barometer of standards? Like, we need to look at that. I certainly have not exhausted the avenues. I've been privileged enough to have hopped from one format to another. I have not dabbled in the talk radio space, which I think I would pursue. And someone said something that was very disturbing for me, a very close person to me whose opinion I value. And one day when I tell my story, he's quite key to pivotal points in my life where I either change careers or pursue a passion. My younger brother has spoken into that, and somehow I followed that direction. And he said recently, don't you think you've outgrown the space? And I got upset because it resonated. We're not bothered by what happens externally. It's what's on the inside that really bothers us. And I think he tapped into a leak in my ship that I knew was there, but you think it's the water around the ship that sinks the ship. It's not. It's when there's a leak inside the ship that starts. Yeah, so I'm definitely looking at what's next. Not necessarily moving or leaving, but what can I do within where I am to really exhaust all growth possibilities. And I mean, our current station manager started on air, so there's definitely room for personal development depending what path you craft for yourself and what opportunities are available at that time and what opportunities you create for yourself. I for sure have been one lazy broadcaster. I've been riding on a wave of luck and opportunity presenting itself and being at the right place and at the right time and being able to BS my way with confidence. So I promise you, if it's one thing that has gotten me through doors where I was not supposed to be, it's just simple confidence. If there's anything I can bottle and sell, it would be confidence. The first thing I pick up in anyone who walks into a room, they say your energy announces you before you even enter the space. So a lot of people talk themselves out of things because they just lack confidence. I look at them, I'm like, yo, Lona, nangamniki confidence, ya lawyer. They're like some of the most talented people. And then they're so apologetic about it and you're like, Bona, you just need a dose of lamagatswalo because lawyer, empty mara, hey, unamagats. So yeah, if there's one thing I think we should teach children at home, at schools, it's the stuff that they can't sell. Confidence. I read quite a lot. I read an eclectic range of books. I love self-help books. I love specific people. Like success leaves trails. It leaves a trail. You could literally look at the life of those you deem successful, whatever definition of success you have, and you will see little clues if you really follow their journey. Not the, believe in yourself and you can achieve. No, the highs, the lows, the failures, it will leave clues, and often those clues will resonate with your own journey. And if you can take from their pages how they pivoted, how they got up every time they literally stumbled. So what motivates me is reading other people's success stories, listening and following up on them, actively pursuing those sort of things. And I'm also motivated by success stories, just in general. I love hearing about people who made it, how they made it. And sometimes maybe I sit and listen to too many stories and still don't do anything. But I'm motivated by people who have done what I dream of. If they could, why can't I? Motivation is a funny thing. It's like petrol. You can't fill up the tank and then you're going wire to Cape Town. You have to refill, every now and then. So there are things that I do physically that I think keep me emotionally healthy. I think it will be a lie to say, I wake up with the sun shining up my butt. But I heard someone say this the other day, I think it was Oprah. I'm an introvert with extrovert qualities. I couldn't explain this to anyone before because my personality betrays my lifestyle. So I don't necessarily keep up with the Joneses. I have no FOMO. You will not find me at the latest turn up. I am just not that girl. But my bubbly personality gives the impression that that's what I am, because most extroverts are outgoing, socialites. Mark me 0. Give me 0, teacher. Mark me absent. I'm not stress. If I ever went out, I'd be that girl watching the bags. Like in because akasaporum dance. I was no timer. So I wouldn't hope in. So I need to do things that fill me up. I love waterfalls. I love watching waves crash at the shore. So those are things that fill me up. I don't mind taking a book to read at the botanical gardens and sit by the water feature because water energizes me. And I will come back feeling like I've just had the best conversation with someone. So a lot of time alone. I'm a homebody. Like, I don't say, I'm a homebody for Insta. I am like homebody. You could be turn up, Mpumi Mbethe, I'm watching my toenails dry. that's about as much fun I'm gonna have on that day. So I don't mind my own company. And I think it comes from this giving off energy and taking from energy. So people can drain you if you're that type of person who gives so much of their energy. So imagine, I always say, if I was a particle, because honestly, how would I sustain my level of energy throughout the weekend or throughout the night for that matter? 8 o'clock, I'm out, I'm sleeping, like, tell me about it in the morning. So I chase waterfalls, I read books, I go to personal development seminars. I have favorites, like if Dr. John DeMartini is coming, I will drive from Nelspruit to Joburg to watch him present for an hour and then drive back in the night because I need to be at work the following day and not feel tired, because that's what motivates me and fills me up. So yeah, man, every day. And listening to podcasts, of subjects that I am interested in. Like sometimes I feel people will ask you stuff that they can Google. So if you're really interested and invested in a subject, whether that is music for you or radio or whatever, you will fill your space and time up with those things, and that will constantly keep you motivated. And not only that, it often opens up opportunities because you are bound to stumble upon an opportunity. I think it was Tiger Woods who said something about winning. It's why do you keep winning? Because I keep playing. So if you keep in the space of the things that you're interested in, you're bound to bump into a person or an opportunity simply because you are sensitive to information around that subject. Lockdown was Jesus' gift for me because, one, I discovered I'm an essential service provider, so I could continue to do what I love, and there are no invitations that I must decline or think of an excuse to wiggle out of, So I've loved it. But what I didn't like about lockdown is not being able to go outdoors to the places that I love. Now, Nangiti, I'm not a social butterfly. It does not mean I don't like being I love traveling. So I don't mind going to a cultural village and learning, or to a museum for that matter, or to the waterfall. So that's the only downside about lockdown. But it also made me appreciate those places that much more, because sometimes we have free access, endless access to a place or a person or a thing that we take it for granted, and until it's restricted, you value it that much more. I'm looking forward to a time when I can go and completely indulge myself in the little things that I like. I like treating myself as well. I might not know how to dweba ishia, but I love getting a facial. I love every now and then. I love going for a back rub, like a full massage. And then I also like road running. Road running is not necessarily like a team sport, but it's a community sport. So that's what I love. I can be amongst people, but I'm on my own. I don't know if that makes sense. I looked up to the late Xolani Gwala. In my varsity days, I looked up to Redi. Mpole Tsolinyane was on my vision board because she was sitting in something similar to this microphone setup, and I didn't know it then, but I just liked the image and I put it there, and here I am now. And I had the opportunity to tell her that when I was still at the SABC and she was being interviewed, and I said, girl, you are my manifestation. I had you on my vision board 10 years ago. Look at us now, colleague. A lot of the people I look up to are TV personas / radio, which makes sense, right? Tami Ngubeni, I love her in the space that she's in. I love Pabi Moloi. I love Pabi. Who else do I also enjoy Pamela Mutini. Oh no, this is worrying me. These are all more talk radio people than anything. Oh, I loved Thando Tabete. I loved Thando. She did what she did on 5 with ease. Anelem Dot. I love her on radio. I absolutely love her on radio. Yeah, man, looks like the guys didn't make it. We need a whole hour for that one. Sure. Challenges. I've faced challenges off air where I'm on the edge of falling apart. I'm literally eyes glistening, about to cry, but TV prepared me for radio. TV stuff would go so bad off like camera, and then you're going live in the next few minutes. Blink, 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 girl, blink fast. Put on your big girl panties, because the viewers don't know that the popo just fell on you right now. And when the camera's on you, everybody else that's in the background is not in sight. So I learned to move on quickly. I've learned to put curfews on my sad moments. I'll go and phone somebody quickly, cry about it, scream, and come back, and the show must go on. So I came onto the radio space with that survival mechanism. I came into the radio space with people I had looked up to, and then found myself working with some of them. So the problem with looking up to people is sometimes, so often, we then attribute good qualities. And then when you have to work with different individuals, you find that they're human. They got anger, they got all the other nasty stuff you don't want to deal with. And yet, something I said during an interview at the public broadcaster when I went to Likwala FM was, they asked me, so you might be working with some big names around the hood, how are you going to handle, like, sometimes big names have, big egos and stuff. I'm like, ooh, I didn't do nursing. I'm not about that life. I am not here to nurse no egos. I got my own issues. So again, a lesson from television. There's a lighting guy, there's a camera guy, there's a sound guy, there's a producer, then there's Mpumi. If I come ill-prepared, doesn't matter how much work and effort the producer put in, their content will not be delivered. I won't do justice to that. However, producer and I can sit together and work through the content and deliver it impeccably. If the sound guy decides to sleep on the job, the audio is not going to come out with the same quality. If the light guy decides to ESCOM on us, it will be lights out. And so it's valuing that every person plays a different role, and each role is important. But for this show to work, all of us need to come up with our A game. So we don't even have to like each other. If you respect your job and you show up to your best self, and I do the same, we will have a killer show. So one surviving challenges for me has been recognizing that no one is perfect to begin with, but also here comes the psychology development first year work. Dynamics, understanding the dynamics, because sometimes peace is better than being right. So if I understand the challenges, if I understand the threat of this 26-year-old coming in when I've been in the industry for 26 years, I get it. I get your anxiety, I get your insecurities, and I don't have to stoop in order to be compassionate. But I can still turn up and earn your respect, because I work hard. I must work harder than you because you've earned your stripes. And you might also feel that I'm undeserving of the platform because how easy was that? We had to grind through the graveyard slot. Why do you? So I understood the dynamics, emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, and again, communication dynamics, something else that comes with social studies. So sociology taught me the consensus that we have around conflict and conflict resolution. So school came in hard. School came in when my emotions were failing. So I approached challenges from an academic's perspective. I'm not gonna stoop to your level. You're gonna beat me with experience. So I might as well come with you. I come to you with the book. One of my biggest mentors was Ustamez, who was on the afternoon drive when he introduced me to radio. He planted the seed, like, why don't you do this thing? But his energy was so electrifying that he did what he did with such ease. It made me feel that I could do what he does. I was literally drawn to it. And I still phoned him. I remember phoning him during my hardest days, and I was like, this is Sipho. Oh, Lana. And he was like, Gebi Sikanda. Gebi Sikanda, me Miss English, Gebi Sikanda. He's like, Gebi Sikanda, ufunde, uzofika isikhathi sokukhuluma. Hayi ke sesifikile. Now I speak even for those who are still gebising ikhanda, but that's the best piece of advice he taught me. I was very confident in my English, which I had been taught to read and write and think in from as early as I started school. And I wasn't as confident in my Siswati. And now the thing is, I learned Siswati in 2006. And yet I expected to have the same command and articulation as a language that I'd been speaking since I was 6. But I recognized that I'm not confident. And I love books, so now I found Siswati books. And then I made friends, and one of my friends is a radio news assignment editor who's from Swaziland and speaks fluent Swati, so why not hook up with her? She likes books, I like books, so Bobo Lukele was my friend. I had a nanny at the time from Zim, who then had to go home because her son had fallen ill, and when she left, I thought of an opportunity to go find a nanny from Swaziland. So not only was I learning and speaking Siswati, reading Siswati, and having this friend of mine, even at home, I wanted the pureness of the language. And 2020, I can confidently say I can read, write, speak, and think in Siswati. So when you want something, you'll find a way. When you find excuses, just know your heart's not in it. So yeah. I worry about interest. I'm interested in being a billionaire. I'm interested in many things, but interest does not translate into passion, and it's passion that will sustain you when the fame is not with the fortune, as others would like to believe, or when the hours require you to, show up, or when the politics get in the way of what we love to do. So I'd much rather find someone who loves this. I mean, I could talk for free, So I'm more interested in someone with a general love for it, because I know the love will carry you through the hard times, and there will be hard times. The love will wake you up when the alarm clock doesn't. The love will wake you when you feel like snoozing. The love will cause you to deal with the most because you love what you do. So that's my first foundation for anything you do. Wherever your joy is, success will follow. And you will always have the energy and the motivation to do that which you love before the pay. So love should be the foundation of it all, but we know that love, like exposure, doesn't pay bills. So then comes where can you polish your craft? If you can acquire skills, if it is that quick 6-month course, it is still worth way more than someone who says, mina ngine talent bayangazi bazongithola futhi mina those bad, like no time for criticism. Start where you are with what you can. If it is at the nearest community radio station, go knock, and the scripture says you have not because you ask not. So people must start asking. Ask questions. Even if Mpumi ushaya bomb, ask the next person. Angeke bonke bashaya bomb. And again, I bumped into some lady who said to me, oh, I want to do radio. I'm like, no, you don't. What do you mean? I'm telling you, I want to do radio. I'm like, if you wanted to do radio, you would be on radio. I don't know where to start. I'm like, let me ask you. You're in town, right? You wanted to come to town. You found the resources, you made the time, and you made it here. I believe you wanted to come to town because I see you. If we're in a room full of people and Kasta Semenya stands up and she says, I train 5 times a week, none of us will question her. Her body, her resume says that she trains a couple of times in the week. There's no doubt about it. She doesn't want to train. I don't have time. No, she makes time to train because it's important to her and it shows. So I said to this lady, I was just near the station. Come, let me take your demo to our station manager. I'm saying right now, I will go to my boss who knows me. No, now to clean. I'll only happy shop, but you know where to find it because you really want to do this. I'll only saloon, but you know where to find it because you want to do this. I think we just fail to break down our goals to that small step that I can do. Do you know people around you? Do you know that le weave on your hair costs a whole lot more than the price of making a demo? And if you're giving me a demo, now it's easier. WhatsApp your demo even. If you give me a 3-minute clip and say, this is how it sounds, I will say, okay, again, bear in mind, this might be personal preference and not necessarily a true reflection of the quality of your work. But at least you're going to get some feedback. And if you get feedback from Mpumi and you get feedback from someone else, surely there's a common thread that will run through these that will help you to, rework your stuff. So if you truly want to do What you say you want to do, one, stop with the excuses and start where you are with what you can. Volunteer if you must, because it will enable you to build the confidence, because there's nothing as terrifying as a microphone when you open your mouth and you don't know what you're going to say. But if you've fumbled a few times, you grow the confidence and you work on certain things. And by all means, listen to different stations. I can't understand someone who's, hey, do you listen to the station? What do you love about it? What don't you love about it? Because if you were to walk up to that 1 minute elevator pitch and batinang station manager, there might never be a perfect opportunity. The conditions will never be convenient. So if the opportunity presents itself and you are not prepared for it, you miss out, and then you say, no, babes. You know that door at the mall that senses when you walk and then it opens up? I discriminate. Whether you are a yellow bond, whether you are big bond, or you are a whatever, when you walk close enough to that door, the door takes command from your presence and it opens up. No, just dare to step close enough to certain opportunities and doors will open up for you. The list is endless, because how I came into the industry was by referral. I don't have an agent. I've stumbled upon opportunities simply because here's one piece of advice that I would give anyone in any industry: relationship management. The most talented people, unfortunately, don't grow or don't sustain their talent or whatever space they occupy because of an interpersonal skill lack of some sort. We fail to manage relationships, we fail to maintain relationships, and so often it's not about necessarily who you know per se or how talented you are. It's more about people working with people they like. That's the truth. So we miss out on opportunities because we think we're talented and that's enough. It should be in an ideal world, but the truth is we manage perceptions, and what people think of you, unfortunately, perceptions will always gather evidence to validate that belief. They will look for you on your bad day, meanwhile you're going through the most. It's not even about them. So it's always about being conscious that we are in a fictitious industry. So it's about managing perceptions, managing relationships as well. And people are always part of the process. People that either open doors of opportunity, people that propel you and push you, and sometimes it's not necessarily the people that motivate you. It's even the critics, because the critics are the ones that cause you to really go back and pull up your game. So you need all those people. So if I had to thank people, I'd have to go back to Sescon, because I was literally voted into a presenter search competition. Voted in by people I don't know, people I could never go back and thank. I always say that when it's my turn, God will change the rules. He will shift people and situations to ensure that His destiny for my life is fulfilled. I walk by that. It is the reason why I will never sleep for a job. It is the reason why I will never block off anyone else from an opportunity if I'm in a position to do so, because what is meant for me will always be for me. God will never let it pass me, and what passes me was never mine to begin with. So I can't even sulk over missed jobs, which I've had plenty. So if I had to thank people, I'd have to go back to TV, because TV introduced me to radio. I started doing interviews as a TV presenter. I'd be invited and I'd sit there fascinated. But 5 minutes, boom. 1 hour later, it's not like I have anywhere to go. 3 hours until that presenter knocks off, I'm there. So that's how I got introduced to radio. Even the TV, the lady who pushed me to it has since passed on. It was an elderly white lady, Anna Marie Hicks, retired English teacher, who used to be, she was obviously on her menopause, and she wanted the temperature to go 80 below van ons hemel, like minus something. And now I'm from, like, can we keep the temperature up a little? So every time I'm there with jackets and blankets and it's still cold and I sneeze, and she's just like, bless you, not bless you, switch this thing off. So we're working in an open plan office, and every time the temperature drops so hectically, I'm telling Anna Marie, no. So one day Anna Marie says, hey, they're looking for TV presenters. I thought, this lady is trying to get rid of me, obviously, because of that temperature, air conditioner situation. But Yeah, man, from her, there are some key individuals that I think really propelled me, but I'd have to write a long list of thank yous. So for now, I'll just Snoop Dogg this one. I'd like to thank me. I'd like to thank me for always believing in me. I'd like to thank me for never giving up on me. Just go look for that. But I want to thank so many people, strangers, close friends, family, decision makers, that saw potential in me. I didn't have the perfect audition for Seskona. I had probably amongst the worst. But what I said to the producer, the SABC programs manager who was there at the time, and Shaba, who was on the afternoon drive on Likwalakwala, was also part of the audition panel of judges. I said to them, look, I see hundreds of people lined up out there. I might not know how to hold the mic or speak directly to it or which camera to look at, but I can guarantee you one thing: personality that only I have. I'm not saying it's better than all the others out there, but it's who I am. And that you can't teach. You can teach me everything else, technique, and I will learn, and I want to learn. But the ability to work with other people, the genuine love for travel and sharing and storytelling, that is who I am, whether I'm on this platform or anywhere else. And that's what I can guarantee to bring into the show. And that apparently is what got me in, because when I watch now, I'm like, they had to see like into the future to have seen hope in that audition. But here I am. So what's next for me in the industry? I don't know. I've never had a plan. The plan was not to go to Emalahleni. And when I was there, the plan was never to go to, I never even imagined Likwalakwala, which was, I was in Emalahleni at the time, and relocating to the Lowveld was not in my plan. But the opportunity came, and again, I really want to share the story, because we miss opportunities because we fail to recognize them when they come. I was working at Emalahleni FM. It was the year that Musa Sukweni won Idols, and he was coming home, and in his homecoming, he was going to be filmed, and I did the interview, which was presented to me. It wasn't even during my time slot, but I showed up to that opportunity, and I did that interview to the best of my ability. That short 3-minute clip that played on Idols that Sunday is what got me the call from the SABC to say, hey, you're doing radio now, because I was just on television. So when they saw that interview, I got invited to what they were holding auditions at the time. So when I came, no demo whatsoever. And that's how I ended up with the public broadcaster, and I was there for 2.5 years. In my time there, Rise FM was, there was DJ Sbu, and then DJ Sbu was gonna be leaving, and the station manager then saw me emceeing an event, because I don't know, he doesn't listen to Lagwala, as he would say. He was a British. I was like, I can't listen to Lagwala. So he just assumed all of us just speak Swatini, until I was emceeing at a pro bono event. Childline had an event, and they wanted a radio personality, and they didn't have a budget. Politics aside. So Childline had a year-end function, and they needed an MC. Now, I said to you, I'm not a socialite, I'm not a turn-up, but when it's got to do with youth development, community upliftment, and children, I'm sold. Bona, I will pay to come and share my bit. So I had a story with Childline I had to give back to them. They helped me out years ago when I was about 13 or so on that 0800 number. And so I had an opportunity, and I was there only to find that my future employer was amongst the audience, loved what I do, and was like, you're from Lagwala? Like, yeah. And he said, hey, listen, would you like to come and tell? I'm like, oh no, I'm not trying to, get controversial by being seen where you work. No. He said, okay, we'll have lunch or breakfast just under a little restaurant below the station. And I went and I met him. Now the secrets are coming out. I met him in late Jan of 2017. I joined the station in July of 2017. So there were conversations back and forth, offers and stuff. And then eventually I thought, you know what? I can grow wherever I go. But I still have a very good relationship with the SABC, and I appreciate the growth that I experienced there as much as I appreciate the growth that I'm experiencing where I am now. And I'm a board member of Childline for child participation. So, yeah. I'm always ready, like, for growth. Others say we're not stable. By others, I mean like the old school people. My mom said I'm not stable because to her, growth is staying within the same organization until retirement, 25 years. And the longest I've stayed is at Rise FM, actually. I've never been in any other company longer than 3 years. So this is my longest. I'm still having fun, but I'm open to opportunities if an opportunity presented itself. I'd like to be in a space where I can do both television and radio. I love the flexibility of our industry, but this pandemic has also proved that you really need to diversify your income, and also not everybody is able to adapt in between the different platforms. So going into that space and owning each of the mediums would mean growth for me. So if I had an opportunity to do both, I'd certainly grab that and see where that takes me. So watch the space. Radio's good, you get paid to talk, but the truth is it's unstable. You get annual contracts. You get, you don't know if you will be the hottest thing next year when the contract renewal comes up. So you always need to diversify your skills. When I came here, I registered with Unigrad for a public relations course. I registered for a business management. I'm always doing some or other short course study. So with language, me being able to speak, write, and think in English, Swati, efficiently opened up another window of opportunity for me. They were looking for translators for a research project. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know Kofi9, I could do translations. All I did was read an English script and write it into Siswati, or get Swati texts and transcribe them into English. So they'd record audio recordings of focus group sessions where the kids were speaking in Siswati. And because the researchers and the data analyst is an English-speaking person, I'd have to transcribe, that is, writing into text what is on the audio recording. I sat for hours doing transcripts, and the quality of the transcripts, again, when you do something, rather do it as if it is the stamp on your CV, because your work will speak for you. And the researchers came to the country. They are a US-based company. I can't say this. Yeah, they're funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they were doing research study into HIV and AIDS prevention amongst adolescent girls and young women. And again, this can't be a coincidence. It's youth involved, and I got the opportunity to do that. And so when I knocked off, I would often go into site with the researchers to translate. From translations, I got very involved with the project, and I would go to the data analysis of it, and I was curious about it, and I would ask questions, and then I got involved to now train field workers under my media company, which does voiceovers as well. So I do voiceovers for corporates. So I do voiceovers like for government departments as well. My longest standing is one for Standard Bank. So if you walk into Standard Bank, like, oh, Standard Bank gives you the, I sit and like, that's me. Obviously, it sounds so polished. Sometimes I have to wince. I recognize the script, but this girl. No, I drink nice warm water with lemon and I sound extra, read all about it. So I do voiceovers for radio ads. I did SABC voiceovers also while I was on Syscon. This week, on live, So I did those. Those are fun. I enjoyed that. And you like get one pager. Is that it? How, guys? We just started. So I'm always working on those. And someone who wants to get into that, I say, you could start off reading out loud in front of the mirror. Record yourself. Listen to what you sound like. And get others whose opinion you value to listen in and give you feedback. And you never know. And open yourself up to those kind of opportunities. So that's all part of the stuff that I do. And then I volunteer with Childline Mpumalanga. So the provincial office has a board, and I kept showing up, and they nominated me to sit on the board. And initially the approach was you look at maybe media and marketing side of it, but my passion was always with the kids, so I chose child participation, and that's the portfolio I sit in. It's a 2-year opportunity. Again, it's grown parts of me that school couldn't have prepared me for, but with the sociology of development studies and studying of societies and all sorts of things, it came in in the pieces of the puzzle fall together. That's what it is. So I get to do what I love. I get to give back in a structured, organized but effective way, and it feeds me, it fuels me, it's rewarding. It's not always bank balance rewarding stuff that really fulfills us, but I think it adds on to the emotional maturity of you, because you never take for granted what you have when you're constantly exposed to those who have less than you. You can get hold of me on social media, and I'm very interactive, because I remember writing to Zola 7, post letter and all. I remember inboxing Lebu Mashile on Twitter, and she replied, and I was so excited. I had to do a journalism assignment in second year, had to do a magazine study and then interview a potential celebrity that would fit that. And because I'm MrsLastMinute.com, I procrastinated until a week before the assignment was due. This is an assignment that counts for 50% of your semester mark. I do not advise you to. Please do not do this at home. But I did that, and then one day I was sleeping, I woke up, and I'm having anxiety and panic attacks because now this assignment that might make or break my semester mark is not done, and everybody's gloating about my second draft, my third draft. You have us about extra. Ma'am, check the homework. They were always just getting under my skin, and they're reminding me of what I have not done. And I was sitting in the morning watching Morning Live when Vuyo Mbuli was still there, and I saw Morning Live at sabc.co.za. At the time, I was clear about the assignment. It was going to be on Destiny. Destiny magazine was new, and of course it's my girl, She doesn't know, but I know that she's my girl. And there's a story. I approached them for an internship, Dalo Media, and they said to me, "Oh, do you have a driver's license?" I'm like, driver's, I can get back, give me a month. And I went, and the reason why I got my learner's license in varsity was because they wanted me with a driver's license. So I came back 4 months later, I got my learners. I can work on the drivers. Don't prepare for the opportunity. Always be prepared in case an opportunity comes. Anyway, so I wrote an email to morninglive@sabc.co.za, and I was like, "Hi, Leanne. So I'm a second year student at the University of Johannesburg, and I've got this magazine article assignment to do, and I would love to interview you because I think you would fit perfectly for the magazine that I've chosen." The next day, I got a reply from her personal email. "Hi, Mpumi, I would love to help with your assignment." So that meant so much to me. I take every opportunity I can. I'm not Leanne Manners, but if you took the time to write to me, I can at least have the courtesy to reply, even if it's to say, "Hey man, can't help you, but perhaps you could try. That much I'll do for you." And that story, I went to the SABC when I saw her reply. I waited. Some would say stalk, but I waited. I didn't stalk. I waited for her outside the Morning Live studios, and I met Vuyo. I was so nervous to go in. He walked me into the office again. Someone so important, so big, took 5 minutes, delayed whatever trip to get me to go and see Leanne. So I didn't have to wait at the reception and phone and all the other scary stuff. And when I interviewed Leanne and I told her what magazine I was going to interview her for, she laughed. She said, "I just did a cover feature with them. It's coming out next month." So I obviously had my target market on point, and she was relevant. So when the magazine came out, I ran and she signed my copy, and to this day I have that signed copy of Mpumi, "The world is your oyster." So yeah, every opportunity I get in my small corner of the world to make a difference, encourage someone, I never miss out. So I just want to say thank you to Careers Exposed for this opportunity to share my story. It's not always glamorous, but I think I just want to say thank you that they have the platform to get the information out there and to tell the, hey, you can also do a story with the realistic, conversational aspect that you're taking on. I think you're doing amazing work, but I think what's more important is whoever's accessing and listening right now, you've taken the first initiative to find out more about whatever career you are interested in. You have taken advantage of an opportunity, and I wish you all the best. Just remember, #, it is possible.